You're on.
Good afternoon, all. I'd like to call to order the January meeting for the Cohoes IDA. Mr. Dudwire, if you do a roll call, please.
Member Dion.
Here.
Member Tarlow.
Here.
Member Pascal. Member Dudwire. Here. Member Moore. Here. Member DeChiro. Here. Member Paradise.
Here. Well, wonderful. Everybody's here for our first meeting of the year. That's awesome. Our first item is the approval of the minutes from the December 2024. Did anybody have any changes, corrections, anything?
I don't have any changes. I had a question on one thing. Wait after we approve it.
No, that would be the time.
Did we ever get the check from Skyler for down payment?
Oh, good question.
We didn't get the check, but we do have the signed contract.
Not until we have the check, we don't.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
You'll pass that along to Scott.
Yeah.
That's the only question I had.
Kate said.
So with that, a motion for approval of the minutes, if there's no other changes. Thank you, Ms. Tarlow. A second. Thank you, Mr. Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. The next item is the collect and the review of the board evaluations. Pete is getting everything ready for end of the year, the fun first few months of the year. Has everybody seen them at least?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have not returned it yet, as quick as you can, this form, his evaluation comes to me, and then,
This form comes to me.
okay, so everybody can just email that over.
You could take a picture of it and send it to me. I'll PDF it from there. That's fine. I do have most of them, so
Well, those gotta go to the ABO.
All right.
I'll put it in my packet when I, Yep.
Yeah, I just don't know if you wanna send a picture to the ABO, that's all.
well, I can typically PDF from there pretty
Okay.
easily. A clear picture.
Anybody have any questions, concerns?
No.
The next agenda item is a review of the Realtor Breakfast. I'd like to begin and give all credit to Pete. He really ran with that whole thing and put it together. I thought it was an outstanding showing. It was a nice
Very well
crossover
done.
from,
Very well done.
it was a nice crossover, money people, realtors, developers, what have you. A couple that unfortunately couldn't make it at last had reached out to me, so we may go out and do some lunches and what have you, but Pete?
No, I thought it was a good event. Extend some gratitude to Steve as well for pitching in. Thank you. He put on the presentation that, he showed available properties and what's in the pipeline as well. We didn't center focus on just Remsen Street, although we highlighted that. Hindsight 2020, I wish I could have the group back in front of me again. And, you always want to just keep talking to these people when you have that captive audience. So I don't think it should be the last time we do this. I'll take this effort or this time to remind you that we need more property on the IDA. So again, think about what it is you want to buy. I'm willing to try some of the more difficult properties. We can reach out to the diocese, explore that a little bit more. There's some other things out there, but we need something. Yes. So yeah, it was a good event. Thank you, Rod. But I think it was a
And I
role
also
that,
apologize. Steve, thank you for your presentation. That was very helpful.
yeah, it was a good day.
Did we collect the email addresses of everyone, see if that goes?
Yep.
Did the presentation go out to
I
them?
followed a presentation of the RFP and something else.
Yeah, the email went out immediately that afternoon.
Any feedback?
No, I did just receive an email this afternoon that I'll follow up on someone asking about some of the properties. So,
Related, I have a question. When Sharon had a proposal the other day, the response was we could not accept that at this particular time. And I don't understand that. If someone has a proposal, can't we accept it?
I'll answer that question in a second. I don't know what RFP went out, but I hadn't seen it. Or did we reissue?
no. This was the city's
Yeah, it
RFP.
has nothing to do with us.
Oh.
So, but we talked about it at the event.
So when we issued the RFP in the first place, the first time, there's a close date.
Okay.
And we got applications as they were on that close date. We looked at both of them. We moved a little bit more forward with Bonacquisi. That's the end of it. We've got to issue a new one and then they can respond. because you can't just continue to take responses. It's not an open-ended RFP process. It's not fair that way. There's, that's not what the law requires either.
All right, then I guess what I need is clarification. If anyone is interested in proposing whatever for that site, can we accept that? Are there criteria, or how does that work now?
what I
Now that the
would-
RFP is done.
What I would say is, if you're gonna take open proposals, like rolling proposals, put an end date on it, right? They all have to be looked at together. I really would like to see it in an RFP process, because otherwise this is the problem you're gonna have. So, I would put the RFP back out, maybe a little bit looser and what we're looking for or something, just to get everybody on the same playing field and help, and you can review them all at the same time.
So, yeah,
I
and
thought we
to,
satisfied the requirement for RFPs.
Well, you satisfied it as to that RFP.
yeah,
You don't just do it and then you're done with it. Technically, you're supposed to RFP every time. But if you had a negotiated sale that you wanted to do, that's fine. But what the law requires there is as most competition as possible. So you really have to say, we'll take open offers, but the deadline is this, and you have to look at them all together.
which we kind of already lived, right? So if we continuously repeat that effort, to Kate's point, I think the fair and equitable piece kind of goes out the window, and now we're kind of being maybe a little bit too selective, and that's why I think the RFP is a safe bet.
So not only that, like when you get a proposal, if you say no, like they don't get to go back and change it. That was their proposal. Like it has to be, you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's the RFP process. It isn't, oh, we'll negotiate changes and maybe you like ours better now after the deadline's closed. That can't do that. It's against the law.
But also, let's circle back to where we were and what brought us to this breakfast. It was the original intent that you wanted to list this property. So I'm happy to reissue an RFP, but it was my thought that the RFP would be for a realtor or a broker or someone that would list it. So that's something you collectively have to decide on before I prepare another RFP, what it's going to be asking for. Well,
And I would
excuse
say-
me, sorry, this is a co-development site. So
Yeah,
collectively with the,
I would say when you get a realtor in place though, that you hold a period open for a certain amount of time before you consider what comes in. Just because,
Sure.
we-
well, that's how their business is too, right? They have a
Yeah.
few people on the hook today, but someone calls them 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks down the
So
road.
the next step would be to get a realtor on board. Is that correct?
That's collectively with the CLDC, your group, for you to determine. Do you want another RFP for the property, or do you want an RFP to have it brokered?
No, I think we need to get word out and make it clear what the process is, and we're not discriminating or picking on anybody or whatever. So I think we have to say, okay, this is the process, this is how we're moving forward, and this is the playing field. So whatever that is, I think we have to get that word out.
The one issue with using a realtor is that what you're gonna get is an offer to purchase the property with a vision, like, I wanted to do this. And we're gonna be back in the same spot like we did with Bonaquisti. We need more, right? So if you're gonna use a realtor, I think it's important that it's an application from the realtor. I've done it with the land banks. It's an application where, yep, here's my purchase price, but here's the plans for my project. This is what I want to do. So that you know, instead of this, I just want to buy the project, I'm going to do housing. That's not going to cut it. And that's where we made the mistake before. It really needed to be an application for the property, if you're going to do it that way. Through the realtor, of course, but.
Yeah.
Because then it's a negotiated sale and I have to, if you were to approve it, I have to take it on 90 days notice to the ABO because it's not an RFP. So they could review it, object, they could do anything. That's the downside to doing it that way, but we've not ever had a problem in the past with the ABO, so.
Well, do you have any problems with going with the realtor, or have a better, different idea? or you
No,
think
no,
it's-
I don't have any problems with it, but I just, that's the problem.
Right, to her
is-
point, how you're receiving those submissions from the realtor is what we have to correct, so.
Like, you don't want just a dollar offer, I'm gonna do housing. You want the entire, this is my proposal.
Right.
You know, some
How are they gonna
basic
market it, blah, blah,
renderings,
blah.
yeah, like what's the concept? Are they looking for, you know, what, all of that. Really, it's more of an application to a realtor than,
So do we have to do an application for realtors first?
we probably should.
So the RFP would be for who you want to, again, if that's what you choose, the path you choose, yes.
Well, I think we do have to have a genuine next step.
Yes, you do.
Right, so that does seem logical. This board asked for us to market it for 6 months or so Pete and I are trying to do the best we can, so I agree. I think the next thing would be to do is the real estate agent.
So we need a full meeting and do that.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
So I
questions?
have no marching orders on that as of right
I
now.
agree. So, well, yes. We need
I'll
to call.
put together a committee meeting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then from there, Pete would do an email blast to all the attendees or realtors and explain the process for application for brokerage. Is that-
No, it'll be an RFP
Going out
to
to
choose a
realtors.
broker. So this RFP is going to say, we have this land and we want a broker to market it. And then when we get with that broker, well, in the RFP, it'll state how we're going to accept offers, which is in detail what Kate just said.
Presumably that'll go to the people that attend.
Right.
Some of them,
They're
yeah,
thinking, like, who's your target market? If you're not target market, you do the RFP and then people decide to respond or not.
correct.
We kind of want them to tell us
Can
what the
you
target market is.
alert people to an RFP?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yep.
you would
Yep.
Focus on target market.
We'll hit, yeah, there wasn't a ton there for brokerage,
Okay.
not enough to just target there.
But we can get it to G-Car and
Yeah.
SIRAD and all of that.
Okay.
And even the contract reporter if we wanted to. But, you know, in the RFP, everybody's gonna come in around the relatively same commission rate.
Yeah.
It's really about your experience marketing commercial and,
In your idea.
yeah. And that it won't technically be a run-of-the-mill contract per se, offer, it's gonna be more of an application. We're gonna need these details with the offer.
So
Right.
as always, our favorite thing, do you have a template for us, Kate, for us to
Well,
copy and cheat off
I
of?
just might.
Thank God, there we go.
One
Work
other
smarter,
wild-
not harder, people.
One other wild idea on that. Do
Thank you.
we think we should do some sort of market analysis first in terms of a consultant that can look at Cohoes demographics, look at traffic count, look at the whole 9 yards, and suggest the kinds of things that might work on, I mean, to me, the problem with Remsen Street, there's plenty of vacancies. You know, I see a dozen places available. And generally, if you ask people what they want, they're gonna say, you know, Starbucks, Taco Bell, all the things that the company's gonna do a study and say, no, thank you. Do we wanna head that off and think
So,
about?
I have in my possession from Sharon the 2017, is that correct, comprehensive city plan, which I do believe I may have sent to you in the past. And also while I was looking through some stuff not too long ago, I also found, I think I sent to Pete, the DRI report, which was 268 pages. I think we're good on studies. That study has everything you want.
There is
Pardon?
going to be a parking study done.
Okay.
Set that up for, it'll be in March.
Or let me
The whole
reword it.
downtown area.
Why don't you review all this first before we go and hire another consultant to do another study? There's literally 500 pages of studies done in Cohoes.
They are, and I've lived through a number of them.
Yep.
And I remember the BOA. And BOA should have been, instead of BOA, it should have been BS. You know, the things they were proposing were pie in the sky,
Right.
crazy. But what I'm asking people to think about, should we get a professional to take all of that stuff and look at it and say, here's a list of the kinds of things that in this economy will work on Remsen Street, given what you're looking to do. Because no, we're not going to review the BOA, the 470 study, the DRI study and all that stuff and boil that all down to specific kinds of businesses that could work in this market on that street. If you want that specific information, you're gonna have to pay somebody for it. And I understand your reservation, paying tons of money for something that's gonna sit on the shelf.
Well, I mean, I'm sending you $400,000 worth of
Yeah,
consulting
no,
studies
no,
right now
And
that
if you-
nobody's ever bothered to look at.
and if that's the kind, if that's the kind of number they're talking about, we're not gonna do it. But I just asked the question, is it feasible, possible, that we might be able to hire a professional to work that all over and give us some guidance, so that when we're doing an RFP, we've got something to back that up.
If we pick the right broker, they should have all the connections they
Yeah.
need to make those decisions, so we can pay them the commission that they're.
You know what the right kind of business to me is? The one that somebody's gonna write a check for and put their own skin into the
I
game.
see what you're saying about that.
No, I totally
A
agree with you.
good broker should have all these connections
Right.
with all these other third parties, because this is what they do. They do commercial, they do resident, whatever they do. Plus, we have studies to look back on, plus they should have access to, how are they gonna earn this commission? They need to, they can fill an application with a couple ideas. That commission will be probably pretty substantial, I would imagine. It would have to come with some depth to it.
I mean, the DRI consultant, whatever report was quite extensive. I mean, they got into everything. Like around page 50, I personally wanted to kill myself. So
Yeah.
it really has, I mean, has traffic, it has everything you want in it. And that's a year, 2 years old? 2 years old.
I hear what you're saying, and I wish that were true, but I'm afraid that the realtors are more in a position, hey, somebody called me the other day that wants to do an X, and so they're gonna call them. But that's based on people that come to them looking for something, and nobody really, well, maybe, again, if it's.
7% commission rate on a $10+ million project.
Yeah,
They better have some people in their pocket,
yeah,
right? I mean, I'm just saying, that's what you're paying them for. Otherwise, we don't need a broker. Scrap that whole idea.
right.
Just figure
The
it out.
consultant's gonna say, put a Pizza Hut.
Right, because that's what you're paying
Right.
them for.
Does everybody remember what
Expertise
this-
and their social capital.
Right.
Paying them for their.
Yeah, and does everybody remember what this appraised for collectively as one site?
It was 240.
$100,000. So,
We don't have to charge them. But again, we're not talking about a $6.5 million on the shore in Newport, Rhode Island here.
Depends if they're bringing the project with them,
Right.
it's millions of dollars. I'm
Sure.
just saying, it's the end number, I don't know.
Well, I'd rather still the realtor who's working for their lunch than the consultant who's gonna write whatever.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Real.
How do we wanna go?
Real good.
Right now, it seems that the consensus is that see what the realtor can bring to us, do the RFP on
See
that.
how it goes?
And we're gonna know, Ralph, when they send back their application, if that's the term we use, what they're offering.
As long as it works,
Yeah.
job done.
Yeah, I mean, there's not saying we don't have
It's
to.
gonna be the cheaper of the two.
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't cost us anything.
and whatever you choose, you're gonna have to pitch to another body, like the co-development.
Right. But I think right now, that's probably the best way to move forward.
Go with that and see how it goes.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario doesn't go well, we didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not saying, no, we'll never do it. We're just saying, let's
Try
go
something
the
new and it
economical
maybe
way
worked
first.
or maybe didn't,
Yeah.
Just be straight.
you know.
See, I think part of it is when buyers use a realtor, they expect a contract process and to buy a piece of property. And so they're not thinking, I gotta have renderings, I gotta have,
Right.
some sort of proposal of exactly the time frame, all of that. So, and that's part of the reason why even Bob Christie didn't respond to the RFP, because it asks for all that information.
Yeah.
And is it really economically feasible for a buyer to go that route? That's the tough part. So, if someone's gonna apply, that's great, and they're gonna do our application, but you might find that people just,
So, good point. And when you and the other body put together those bullet points of requirements in that application, you should consider that. What can we be happy with and know that we're going to get enough information and good commitment, and what's feasible for someone to come forth and say, I'm willing to do that work to put this in. There's some balance there you have to look for.
Because they're gonna have to spend money on what
Yeah.
we're gonna want to approve a project.
Right.
Well, and again, my opinion, we don't want somebody to come back to us with a 4-story apartment building because this body has already been there and doesn't want that. So somehow the bullets need to make it clear the kinds of things that were.
Right, and that's where the realtor
But then when
should
we
be
did that last
choosing.
time, we got no RFPs.
Yeah,
We did send out an RFP saying we really don't want residential, and
Right.
nobody
No
responded.
RFPs is
But
better
because
than
that's what the
doing.
market is bearing right now.
Of course.
I mean, nothing is better than doing the wrong thing. We do the wrong thing, it's there forever.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's why you're
we don't
taking
have
these
the gun
steps.
to our head to do it. So I think we hold out for something that's gonna benefit the people in Cohoes in some way.
Right, but that's why I think just setting up, doing the RFP with the realtor is a logical next step. It's cost efficient. Who knows? We may get a realtor who's got the deal right in his or her back pocket. So we don't know until we try, but I'd rather go that route. And no offense, use some of Pete's time and whatever than going a consultant route where we're talking real monies and commas.
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. Our next item has been taken off, although I was hoping for a coup could come together today. Kate tells us that we need to put this off, March, are we saying?
Well, normally there's resolutions approving the audit, the Paris report, and
Or
doing
February?
the performance measures, assessment of internal controls, all of that. And that traditionally with other clients, we do with IDAs in March, because that's when the Paris is due at the end of the month. So that's my recommendation, is to do everything.
So to Kate's point, barring what you did for the last 7 years.
But that's not what we did.
Just teasing.
Oh, when you came on, you switched it. I think you did this to me last year. I'm like, so, yeah.
I mirrored
I
the
went
year
with it
previous.
last year. I'm not in the mood this year.
It was always February, but anyway, or January. But
So we're
anyway.
putting off the reorg meeting until we,
I do have a question on it. I read the audit in draft form, and 2 issues have reemerged, and I thought they were issues that we dealt with last year. So while it's in draft form, we need to deal with.
I've not seen it yet. Are the 2 nicks that we got last year?
Same
Yeah, because we
two.
took care of that.
Well.
But I haven't seen it yet. I'm not ready to
Well, they're
discuss
back
it.
again, so we need to deal with that
Okay.
before this thing is
Okay.
finalized. One being the minutes, and the other, Kate, it may be a discussion with the auditor. Apparently, the auditor was not satisfied with our fair value assessment procedures. We were cited for not having a policy for the valuation of properties held,
Mhm.
and
We are,
When I
but we
mentioned
fixed that.
Yeah, we fixed
We
that
did
right
fix
at
that.
that meeting.
well, Mike
And we shouldn't be
suggested
talking
the
about
auditor's
draft.
not satisfied with
Okay.
what we've done, so I think we're gonna
I'm
have
being
to,
told we can't
we're gonna have
discuss
to
it.
address that.
Okay, very good.
The audit committee should meet and work through that.
Yeah.
first.
However we do it, while it's still draft form,
Okay.
whatever needs to be done.
Well, who is on, do we know who's on the audit committee off the top of our head? If not,
I am.
Rod, myself, Laura.
I'm sorry, Laura?
Yep.
Laura, Rod, and
Ed,
Laura and myself, yeah. Audit.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read it yet, so I have no,
The way that it really is
Comment.
supposed to work, and I know that you move pretty quick around here apparently, but you're supposed to have your meeting where you review the engagement letter, you hire the auditor, you sign it. The next meeting is to review the draft audit. Like, there should be at least 2 audit committee meetings. And it just sounds like somebody hired the auditor, and you're off to the races already. So, okay, but, do it in an audit meeting, and wait, it shouldn't be public until it's in final.
so why don't we try and schedule a meeting prior to either our next exec meeting or, yeah. Why don't we shoot for the exec meeting? If we could do like 15 minutes before or whatever.
So you want to start at 4:30? Or do you want to start at
No,
4:15?
we'll call our meeting at 4:15.
4:15 audit committee meeting?
Yeah.
Is that 2 weeks from now?
Yeah.
Is that-
That's going to be before the exec meeting.
People, you send me an invite to that or?
I'll work on that. It's, I think the 6th.
The 6th, right?
Yeah, 6th.
6th of February.
Yes.
Well, I'll be in Florida. I'm leaving.
Ed, you need to be more dedicated to this unpaid
We can make it
position
virtual.
here.
We can make
Yeah.
it virtual meeting for
Well,
that.
the plans I take it off at 5:30.
Oh, there we go. We can get you in and out. Security's nothing at all in the evening. It's the first flight of the day is a killer.
Somebody's got to know somebody.
Well, actually, Laura, you and I can meet because that's a quorum.
Yeah.
Ralph can be the guest listener.
Yeah.
You can be the guest listener to tell us what you really want.
And then change it later.
Right. All right, with not going further into that, at this point, we are going to call for an executive session, so we can discuss an issue with our attorney. At this point, it's kind of unusual. I have no issue with, no, I can't, you have to, Steve can say. But other than that, I have to clear the room.
All right, hold on, I gotta,
Motion to go into executive
No, thank you, yes,
I second.
thank you.
Ralph and Laura. I'll wait till they,
The only irony is everyone was going to be affected by what I say, that's why.
Yeah, but
I was kind of-
privilege is
I know,
shot when
I
you
know.
do that.
Okay.
You need to be able to speak freely.
Sure.
all right, hold on, I gotta end this.
Yeah, please.
Unfortunately, there's no way to pause these.
They can be brief later.
Yeah, well, that's what Steve can.
I mean, we don't do anything else right, so why would?